Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rewind, the retro video game show coming to you live every Friday from 3 p.m. Eastern, right here on the AWS for Games channels on YouTube and Twitch. My name is Chris Melisinos, and I'm the principal evangelist for video games here at AWS. And on today's episode, we are going to take a look at a few of my favorite pinball games from older systems, as well as two new ones that are evolutions of some of my favorites. Now, my generation of gamers, we were growing up when video games took over arcades. And so, while pinball machines were in abundance, our attention was really focused on video game cabinets. Fast forward a few decades, and my appreciation for the incredible artwork, engineering, cleverness, and sophistication that pinball games require has grown exponentially. However, getting arcade games at home proved to be a less expensive endeavor than the cost of pinball machines. Video game versions of pinball games are a great low-cost alternative to pin flipping action. And while there's nothing like the feeling of a real pinball machine, there are many things you can do in video game versions that just can't be done on a real machine. And this is where I feel video game versions and real tables can coexist for pinball fans. My goodness, I'm having a terrible time speaking today. So yes, this is where video game versions of pinball games and real pinball tables can coexist for pinball fans. So with that, we're going to take a step back and look at not all, but some of my favorite pinball video games of all time, and a couple of new ones as well. So I'm going to stop trying to talk, and I'm going to go ahead and take us over to the 8-bit living room so we can just start playing some pinball and talk about them. Let's head on over. All right, so here we are over in the 8-bit living room, of course. And we need to go ahead and get started. So one of the first tables that, if you grew up in the 90s, for example, one of the first tables you may have experienced were on platforms like Windows, right? Especially this one, 3D Pinball Space Cadet. This one was, this was included with Windows. Let me see here. We're also having a little bit of an issue with regard to streaming this out. So let me go ahead and make sure that we fix this up. So let's go ahead and do just that. We're having a little bit of issues today, of course, right? Is the day where we're having just issues kind of across the board on the internet. So unfortunately, we're no stranger to that either. And let me see if we can get this started over here as well. I think we're going to be good to go there. And let's go ahead and make sure more than one ingestion sees primary URL. Let me go ahead and get that changed. So hang tight. We're about to jump back into the stream. All right, let's go ahead and see if that has improved things at all. So my apologies. This is one of the things when you're doing this stuff live, right? When an error pops up, you just gotta deal with it, and so that's what we're doing right now. So let me go ahead and check that out and make sure that we are still going here. It seems like we're still going. We are still live, so we're just going to go ahead and keep trucking along then. Right. Back to what I was saying before. If you experienced pinball games if you had, if you were in the 90s and you were, starting up on Windows and you happened across this game, 3D Pinball Space Cadet, you were like, man, this looks so awesome. Let's go ahead and check this one out. So I'm going to go and turn the music and the sounds back on here so we can go and do that. And let's just go ahead and play through some pinball today. Okay, I think we're good to go there. All right. So here we go. Let me go and also hit into the chat. Hey, everybody. And so that way, as people come in, they can see that we are being friendly and open there today. All right, let's go ahead and continue playing here. So, obviously not the most realistic pinball game, but it was fun, to have this available to you. And let me go ahead and turn that volume down just a little bit. All right. Yeah, so the thing is, when you're playing this on a modern computer, 3D Pinball Space Cadet didn't really allow you to do window resize. You can either go full screen or inside of a window. So when you're doing it in a window, they really didn't have the notion of changing the resolution or size for that. And so, you were stuck with just this small window, especially on modern monitors. So I'm playing this in a little postage stamp, which makes it hard to go ahead and see all the detail that's in there. But, you can get a good idea of that. And I'm going to be quiet for a second. Let's hear the audio sound here. Yeah, I think that sounds pretty good. All right, let's go ahead and now jump back into play. So, this was a great diversion, that was included on your Windows desktop, much like, Solitaire or Minesweeper or something like that, provided you. And, it was included free with Windows. And so now some developers had gone out and figured out a way to make it run on modern Windows machines too. So you can re-enjoy this classic from the past that was included with Windows. So let's go ahead and play a little bit more of this. Now, one of the things I do like, not that I, didn't like, but I do like the fact that, it really is trying to mimic a real table. So you have multiple levels over there, like you saw on the side. You have, what looked like to be proper bumpers. And what you find is that with a lot of pinball video games back in the 80s and 90s, they tried to emulate real tables. So, of course, I just went ahead and killed all of those at the top there. And so, they were trying to make it as realistic as possible. But the great thing about video game pinball games is that you can do things in the environment that you just can't do on a real table. So while I appreciate the attempt at realism and the great physics that the game has, I also longed for something that was a little bit different. Let's go ahead and put that in there. I'm gonna go ahead and try one more time here. All right, let's give this a shot. F2 starts new game. Oh yeah, there's that startup. Whoop. All right. Yeah, why is that still opening there? My stream settings seem to be good. And the stream health seems to be okay. But we're going to go ahead and just continue on with this. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and fire up YouTube in another window. One of the things, when you're doing this type of program and you're doing it by yourself, right? You have to deal with everything, right? All of the issues that pop up, the technical issues that happen. All right, let me see. So we have a live stream happening right now. There it is. And we're going to be able to hear that in the background there. I'm going to go to mute that for just a moment, just so we can hear it. All right, good. So we've muted all of that. All right. Yeah, let's just go ahead and continue. All right, good. So we've muted all of that. All right. Yeah, look at that. We had to go in and fix our wall. Somehow something was cracking through the wall back there. All right, let's go ahead and get back into it. Enough of this nonsense. If we get it, we get it. If we don't, we don't. But we're just going to continue playing pinball, because that is what I am here to do. That is what we are here to do. All right, let's go. Let's go get some more pinball going. All right, here we go. And they use, realistic sounds, which were great. All right, and that's going to be a little too loud, so I'm going to turn that down just a little bit there. Make sure I'm not blowing out your ears. And yeah, so you had all the things you would expect in a real pinball game. You had different bonuses and different skill shots, multiple paths that you could go ahead and take, and tracks that you could run. Just again, all the stuff you'd expect in a real pinball game, but now in this awesome little digital pinball game that is showing up with your Windows installation. That was a good run right there, which, always, I've always wanted to talk to developers that develop pinball video games, and how do they deal with glitches where, a ball is getting stuck on a piece of the geometry when it shouldn't have, and how they go ahead and deal with those things, right? Let me just check out our analytics over here. Yeah, and everything seems to be going just fine. Oh, but you see what happened was I got out of the window there, and that dropped that back. All right, let's go ahead. We're just going to go ahead and finish off these here, and we're going to jump to one of my next favorite games. So when I say favorite, I do have fond memories of firing this thing up, but it wasn't something that I went back to on a regular basis to play. But there's a, in preparing for this episode today and taking a look at some of the older games, there was a lot to really like about this. And so I enjoyed getting to go back and re-experience it. And do love the fact that, a developer said, hey, people want to go ahead and relive this bit of their past, so we're going to go ahead and make that available. I think there's even a web-based version you can play on GitHub. So you have multiple ways to re-enjoy 3D Pinball Space Cadet, if indeed, this was part of your childhood. Now it's accessible to you. So there we go. All right, that is 3D Pinball Space Cadet. Oh, listen to all of that. Yeah, great sounds. Great sounds. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So we're going to go ahead and shut that one down. We're going to go ahead and fire up another. I'm going to move over here to my game controller. Now, this one kind of came into the market at a time when, Sega needed an additional, piece of Sonic content out there. And so this is Sonic Spinball. Now, this is a game I love, but there are some that are like, well, it's not a real Sonic game. We'll go ahead and turn that down a little too. Again, make sure we're not blowing our ears out with that stuff. Isn't that right? Yeah, yay, all right. So, with Sonic Spinball, they added a couple of pretty neat things to the mix here, to the Sonic mix. So let's see. All right, here we go. Multiple screens. You can manipulate Sonic in a couple different ways, and we'll go ahead and take a look at that right now. So, all right, player one start. Well, let's go and get over here. Let's make sure I get in my controls. All right, so we have our jump. We have left and right flippers. All right, so Sonic is going to get launched up to the gameplay field. And yeah, so now we have this nice scrolling, play field for Sonic to traverse. And there's a bunch of different challenges and a bunch of different things to unlock as you play, including multiple areas of the board. Now, one of the things that it does do, and you just saw there, is if you happen to fall down, right, straight down in between the flippers there's a platform. If you land on the platform, or if you're off to the side, Sonic will go ahead and grab on it, and then you can make him jump up and re-enter the playfield so you don't lose your ball, as it were, and kind of keep everything in play there. But you have to do it before he gets chomped, and it's just like we did there. Now, it was a unique take on Sonic. And of course, they're bringing the Chaos Emeralds and all these other pieces, of the Sonic universe right into the game. And then you have multiple, again, side levels and side screens that you can move on to, just like we have here. And so there's a lot to really uncover and unpack. Very colorful, really well done. The animation is great, all of those things. However, as you can see, the scrolling really left something to be desired, really jerky. Can be a little bit difficult to follow along, but still a lot of fun to play. And I remember playing this on the Sega Nomad. All right, there we go. We're now grab that loop there. We got a worm bagged. Now, I don't have the instruction manual with me. Otherwise, I would be able to tell you, what all the different areas are and what the goals are of each area. It's been a while since I played Sonic Spinball in any real capacity. Clearly, we have to bust all those barrels, so we'll go and try to do that before we get ejected out of this level here. Oh, no, we got a sewer warp there. Let's go ahead and trap the ball, and then see if we can't get him straight up there. Nope, we didn't. Oh, we're going to go ahead and lock them down, though. Some worm busters. Oh, let's see. Okay, I just paused the game. Sorry. Okay, so what I need to do is jump and move him over. There we go. So you can see, you have the opportunity to save the ball. But now we're out of that playfield there, so we have to, jump back in on this side. There we go. Okay, what does that do? It did raised some bridge? Is that what it said? It did something there. All right, let's see. Come on. Yeah, you can also see the collision on this isn't the greatest either, Oh, no, and I dropped him. Wop, wop, wop. Right, dropped him right there into the chemicals, and that's not what we wanted, right? All right, here we go. Sonic Boa number 2. All right, and now the one thing that I don't like about this, that I do like on other console, pinball games, is the controls. I think you can adjust the controls here, but they use left and right flippers as 2 buttons, right? The A and B buttons sitting right next to each other on a Genesis controller. And it's too close. You want to have like one finger on one button, one finger on the other for flippers. And it just makes it feel more like pinball. It gives you a little bit more control than trying to rock between the two with your thumb, which is what I'm doing right now. We're draining that slime out to go ahead and get that Chaos Emerald. So let's see what happens there. We got another worm bag, but now you have to go ahead and basically remove the plug that is blocking access to the Chaos Emerald. So let's see if we can do that. All right, so now we're over to the left side, left playfield, I should say. But yeah, you can see, good soundtrack. Unoffensive soundtrack, I would say. Not that it's great. It's serviceable, right? But again, like I said, you think about it in the context of the time, of the system, of Sonic the Hedgehog as a character, and Sega was putting in all kinds of things, and Sonic Spinball was a really good one. So I have a fun story about this game and what happens when we don't preserve games, which is a huge, obviously hugely important to me, working in game preservation for a long time. So I have a friend who worked for a company that back in the early 2000s, they had a video game service or worked for a company that had a video game service that allowed you to go ahead and pay a monthly subscription, and you could download games and play them. And so Sega had games in that catalog there. And, these were all emulated games. And so what happened was they wanted to get Sonic Spinball to be able to add to the catalog. But when they went back to Sega, nobody had any of the source code for the game. Nobody knew where any of the assets were. Nobody knew where any of the materials were. Nothing. So they talked around and, found some other team members that had worked on at Sega during the time that Sonic Spinball was made. And what they found is that one of, I believe it's a sound engineer, was at home and looking at some, equipment that they were given. And what he found was in the floppy drive of this computer that was sitting in a garage, like under paint cans or something, was all of the source code and the assets for Sonic Spinball. So basically, Sega didn't even know where the code was for this principal character of theirs. but it just happened to be in the floppy drive of one of the engineers that had worked on the game back in the day. And they just, removed the paint cans and got it out of the PC, and they were able to go ahead and save the game. So this is why game preservation is so important, because we have to make sure that we're keeping track of all this stuff for future generations, So anyway, so Sonic Spinball, a really good, serviceable, fun game, really colorful, good for families, worked great on the go in the Sega Nomad, and really just a welcome addition to the Genesis library. I love going back and playing this game, and just a lot of fun. So that is Sonic Spinball. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into two of my absolute all-time favorite games in this genre. And I'm not even going to... Well, you already saw them in the title card. They were two games for the TurboGrafx 16, or the PC Engine, as it was also known. And why don't we go ahead and stop talking about it? Let's just go start firing those up. All right. So the two games, let's start in order here. The first one was Alien Crush. Now, again, at the time that this console was released into the market, we had Nintendo with a lot of family games, and we had the Genesis out there, and they were leaning into, an older audience. And TurboGrafx and, NEC and Hudson, they were also doing the same thing. They were trying to go after an older demographic, and so they leaned into content that looked like this, Alien Crush. Man, when we played this game, first turned this thing on, we were blown away, right? These were graphics that, parents didn't necessarily take too kindly to, just because of the way they looked. But this is all of that Geiger sort of aliens type of imagery. Banger soundtrack as well. So much fun to play. But this is only one of two. So let's go play a bit of Alien Crush. Do love this one. Let's do Lunar Eclipse. That's the track that I always played with. And it's a little gross, right? It's a little gross, which made the game that much more fun. As I mentioned too, what I like about, we're going to talk about what just happened there with the flashing. But what I do like about the controls here is that you have one side of the control pad, or the D-pad, one button on the other side of the controller, so your thumbs are kind of separated quite a bit from each other as you're playing this. And just easier to control. So, again, they were really leaning into the kind of the gross space aesthetic, not overly complex boards, right, to go ahead and play on. But you'll see what happens as we continue playing through this a little bit. Now, I mentioned that there was this flashing that was happening on the screen. That was happening because in this game, instead of scrolling the playfield, you would snap between the upper playfield and the lower playfield, just like that. And so what that would do is, especially if the ball was kind of right there at the edge of the playfield, it would get trapped and the screen would flicker like that, which would really be an annoyance. But this also introduced these bonus levels, which were really cool. The flippers were a little bit smaller, kind of the drain in between them. It was a little wider than the actual playfield itself. But these were great diversions and great additions to the game, just in terms of usability and challenge, and just really kind of made this more than just a pinball game, because now this is more like a target game with pinball, right? And so if you hit the head there, that's good. And I think I didn't let it ride the flipper enough to go ahead and give it some distance, but there you go. All right, let's go play through a little more of this one here. Yeah, you can hear the soundtrack's awesome. You have, I'm not even pressing the flipper button, my goodness. You got the alien heads, two different types, right, coming out of both sides. You have, I don't know if we already saw it. I lost didn't get the free game there, but we're going to go ahead and restart it anyway, so it don't matter. All right, let's go ahead and give that a shot again. All right, this time let's go ahead and hear Demons Undulate. All right, let's hear what that sounds like. A little more ominous. Yeah, for sure. And, you know, it does, when you think about the complexity of building something like a pinball game, really, it really is, okay, it's equal parts graphics, equal parts sound, and physics. And the physics are the big one. If the ball is moving too aggressively, if it doesn't bounce correctly, if it's too unforgiving, then it makes really for a bad play experience. Because on a real pinball machine, you can actually physically, you have tilt and everything here, but you can bump the machine in different ways. You can go ahead and manipulate gameplay outside of just using the two flippers. You really can't do that effectively on a digital version of this, right? So, it required a real balancing act between, again, physics and the visuals and the audio that you experience in these games. But all those other little touches, right? The aliens breaking out. I'm trying to go ahead and break these bumpers down here so we can see what gets launched out of there. So yeah, let's see. Here we go. Come on, go ahead and get that next one. Nope. Oh, I keep pressing the wrong button. Otherwise, I wouldn't have lost that one. I wouldn't have lost that one lane up there. I kept pressing the center button and not the one all the way to the right there. All right, here we go. Another level. And so there were multiple levels that you had with different degrees of complexity and difficulty. But just look at how lovely this game is, right? I mean, it's leaning into space, it's leaning into aliens, it's leaning into, kind of the culture at that time, right? Again, you think about the era in which this game was released, aliens and that kind of stuff were all really big as properties. And so, man, this was culturally completely aligned with exactly where the world was at that time. I do love it. All right, let's go. All right, then we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next one. Now, the game that follows this one, it is my favorite video game version of pinball of all time. And you'll see why. It gets everything right. Challenge, graphics, audio, presentation. It did everything so right. And just built on the legacy built on the things learned in building Alien Crush here. Oh, okay, shoot. Went ahead and dropped that down. Yeah, let's go and let it hit the gutter there because we're at half the hour. We're now 3 games in. We got 3 more to go. And so that was Alien Crush on the TurboGrafx 16. Now we're going to go ahead and move over to the follow-on to that, which just does everything better. Absolutely everything better. And like I said, it is it is my favorite video game, pinball game of all time. Boom! Devil's Crush. Oh my gosh, this game, so good. When we talk about games you can go back to all the time, this is one of them for me. This for me is right up there with like going back to playing Tetris or going back to playing Super Mario Brothers and things like that. It's that good, right? In my opinion, and just all the little details and touches. Oh, it's just fantastic. All right, let's go ahead and push that run button. Let's go ahead and play it on fast. Always, always, always listen to that. Oh, so good. The music is just amazing here. There's so many different things going on the board there. And then what you'll also see is things like the skull. Watch the eyeball on the skull because it actually follows the ball while it's in play. So good. Here we go. I'm actually going to even lean back a little for this one. And of course, because I decided to lean back and move my mic, I went ahead and just lost that first ball, right? So make sure you get comfortable first. All right, so in this one here, the big thing that you want to do is evolve the witch in the middle of the play field here. by getting the ball inside of her helmet there. And, okay, here we are on the top. We've got all those druids here. Now, this is the U.S. release of this game. In Japan, they had, the version in Japan had some additional graphics to it. Things that really were pentagrams instead of a giant star like that. They also had blood and things like that. At the time that this game was released in the United States, there was, we were still reeling from the moral panic of the 1980s, where Dungeons and Dragons were going to capture all of our kids' brains and, and turn them into witchcraft and all that stuff, which of course didn't happen, which was just so silly, right, on its face. But to make it more palatable for a U.S. market and to avoid some controversy, they kept the tone and the feel and everything of the game correct, but they wound up changing some of the more objectionable, if that's the right word to use, graphics to make it adapted for a U.S. audience, right? Doesn't take away, I still like playing the Japanese version on the PC Engine, but it doesn't really take away anything from the gameplay. It is still the same amazing gameplay, still challenging gameplay that you've got. I love all these obstacles that are moving. There, yeah, now we're evolving her. And yeah, so we're going to go and just play through a little bit of this. And yeah, I'm just going to be, in fact, I'm going to concentrate now. I'm going to be, pause it so I can crank this up a hair. And I'm just going to be quiet and play for a little bit here. Here we go. All right. Or I should say that I'm going to concentrate more on playing versus talking right now. See if we can unlock some of these special levels here. So many different things to be aware of and keep track of. Okay, here we go. First bonus level. Yeah, so you can just see everything about this version of Pinball is just amped up from Alien Crush. Oh, I love it so much. So good. And, there are times when you experience games and you kind of wonder, well, does the gameplay, do the themes, all those things, are they going to stick around, right? Is it something that people are going to want to continue to play? Well, the next two games are going to play are kind of the spiritual evolution of both Alien Crush and Devil's Crush. And so I'm excited to be able to play through some of that because I haven't been oh, look at that. That's right. Yay, everybody. Okay, perfect. Special points. So I still haven't gotten anything up that ramp there at the top, which I know will go ahead and basically unlock or take out those enemies up there. We need to go ahead and evolve this witch too. Keep her going. Oh, look at that. Your skull is taunting you as well. Oof. All right. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Shoot. Yeah, see how the eye, it follows the ball around, which is great. Now, I forget, I think if I get the ball up the center here into that castle, it'll give me a block at the bottom there to, oh, shoot. Yeah, that's a tough one to hit. Now, of course, I have all these enemies coming out and the block in my shoot. Yeah, and of course, he's going to laugh at me there. Of course, he's going to laugh at me there. What is wrong with him? All right, here we go. Got my bonus points. No more balls in play. And so now we got our last chance here. Let's hit it. Nope. We had triple zeros. We got the 9 there. Let's go ahead and leave that up. But let's go ahead and play one more of these. And we're going to move on to the modern versions of these. So good. So good. I also realized, with the speed select, I never played it on slow mode. I don't think I've ever played it on slow mode before because what's the point of doing that, right? It's pinball. You want that stuff to move fast and furious. So here we go. And while we really only have the one looping soundtrack, right, which is really small, really short, never gets old, never gets tired, or tiresome, I should say. All right, here we go. Shoot, why am I keep missing that? Because I'm looking at the audio levels here and not the play field, which is what I should be focused on right now. All right, let's see if we can get an evolution to happen up top here. Maybe. All right, so as I was saying at the top of the show here, you know, yeah, I grew up playing pinball and enjoyed it, but I was more focused on arcade games. It wasn't until, you know, again, I got a little older and really started to lean into playing some pinball and really just grew to love the game, and really became impressed with just the technical complexity of especially modern tables, right? Just absolutely insane. And actually, I wouldn't even go so far as to say modern tables. I'd say tables that started in like the mid 90s. Oh my goodness, just crazy how complex and in some cases fragile they were. You know, it was a wonder that some of those machines ever worked at all, given, you know, again, the complexity of them. And but you know, they're really expensive to go ahead and get into. If you're really trying to get into modern games, especially the more popular ones, you're looking at least $4,000 or $5,000 to get a good table that's been well maintained, that is a really good game to play. And they can go up, of course, even in the home space, up into the, you know, $15,000 range if you're not careful. And there were companies, and there still are companies like whatchamacallit, the One Up Company, and oh my goodness, what is the name of the other company? There are a couple of companies that did digital pinball tables. There's Pinball Legends tables. And so these were, again, virtual pinball machines in these pint-size pinball cases, if you will, or cabinets, and gave you the ability to get some of that pinball feeling at home on a physical stand-up cabinet, but it just isn't the same as a real cabinet. Now, there are also virtual pinball tables that you can build that actually use these kind of, not pneumatic, but these kind of ultrasound, you know, kind of thumpers that you place around the inside of the cabinet, and then the software will track where the ball is on the play field and then light up basically those speakers. And so what it feels like and really simulates is a physical ball moving around a digital space. Really, really cool. But again, still nothing like having your real pinball machine with a real heavy pinball banging around there and all that other stuff, right? So there are a couple of games cabinets that I would love to go ahead and get at some point, but they're just wickedly expensive. The Tron Legacy one, yeah, amazing. Just want that one so bad. And there are mods for it and everything else, a little Tron cabinet. And of course, I would go ahead and mod it with a Tron cabinet that you could actually play inside instead of just a facsimile. And then, of course, there is the Indiana Jones game by Williams. Oh, my goodness. Love the look of that game. But older ones like Pinbot. The Space Invaders one has got a cool design, even though it's not a very good game. And then, of course, there's a bunch of the newer cabinets, like the Stranger Things one, or John Wick has one, which would probably be pretty awesome. And those are really more hybrid type of cabinets. They have equal part physical obstacles and digital obstacles in the same play field. And so really, really neat. And that kind of, you know, it goes back to an older series of games called Pinball 2000. There was only a handful of games. I think it was, maybe it was Mars Attacks, and it was Star Wars Episode 1. And what they did, which is really, really cool, is they kind of leaned into tricks or techniques that video games would use in cabinets. So, for example, in the play field, you would have, after you got up to a certain level on the, or back far enough on the playfield, there would be physical bumpers there, but they would be obscured by kind of this piece of glass. It would be reflecting the image of a CRT, right, which is a tube television, basically, that was housed in the upper part, the scoreboard, basically, of the cabinet. And so it would be able to display these graphics, these computer graphics that looked almost like holograms on the playfield. Really, really cool technology. The problem was it would break all the time. It was so difficult to keep those cabinets up and running, really problematic and extremely expensive when they were released. And so there's only a handful of cabinets that actually ever came out in the Pinball 2000 line by Williams, but really, really cool and really, really inventive, you know? Anyway, so this is Devil's Crush. Man, just the soundtrack is awesome. The bonus levels are awesome. Visuals are great. The gameplay is super fast and smooth. Just amazing. Just really amazing. I love this one. Absolutely love it. But we only have about 20 minutes left, so I'm going to go ahead and put the pause on this, and let's go ahead and fire up some more modern games. So those are 4 of the older pinball games that I loved playing, but we need to go and swap these TVs out. So let's go ahead and do that. Boop, boop. All right. And let's go ahead and fire up 2 new pinball games. And I got these both when they were on sale on the Epic Games Store and on Steam. In fact, the Epic one, I do believe we gave this one game out for free through Amazon Prime Gaming. So if you are a Prime Gaming subscriber, make sure that or if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, make sure you go over to the Amazon Games site and download the free games that we give away every month. They're yours to keep for free forever. There is no reason that you're not going to get them other than you didn't know about it. Set a reminder, go get your free games. All right. This first one is a game called Demon's Tilt. We're going to go ahead and fire that up right now, and let's go check that out. All right, here we go. And you'll see almost instant, well, not almost, you will see instantly why I say this is a throwback to the games that we were just playing, right? This one being the Alien Crush throwback. Let me crank a little bit of that audio up here so we can hear those sweet, sweet sounds. But the thing about this game, man, there are just so many different options and things to this. So you see here, they've got global leaderboards, so you can see where you rank, globally here. Those are local scores. There are the global scores. 2.1 billion points by Andres y Silvia on there. Mr. Flowers, right? We have all of those there. You have local experience scores, top EX mode scores, so different modes of tables. Right? Okay, let's see. Top hardcore slayers, Iron Maiden rules. Yeah, I love that one. Yes, Iron Maiden does rule, right? Am I right? Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. Let's just go ahead and get this thing started. I'm going to do it on normal because I've not played this very much, right? I just picked up these 2, but loved them, and that's why I wanted to go ahead and do this episode, because they are literally the newer versions of 2 of my older favorites. So you can see, looks just a bit like, those other ones. All right, let's go ahead and launch this plunger here. Now, what I do like about this too is it gives you some what are called quality of life features. So I can turn on filters like CRT filters. I can turn on ball traces. So that way I can actually see where the ball is moving around the screen better, because it does move really fast. So let's just go check it out. Right? Okay, here we go. Now this one, right, uses the actual flippers on your Xbox controller. So again, it feels even a little more like playing real pinball. Oh, I can't believe I just dropped that down there. Oh, come on. Again, I keep messing with the mixer over here instead of paying attention to the game. But once again, that is the problem if you have to go do this by yourself, man. All right. So you can see again, I mean, really just fun, complex, multi-routed kind of tables to play on, moves super smoothly. You've got your 3 levels up there. I don't know what the bonus levels look like here or what other side levels you can bring to, but there's a redemption that I just picked up. Yeah, let's get up to the top there. Yeah, look at that. So imagine, you know, putting this on your big screen at home or in VR and just firing it up. Oh my goodness. All right, didn't want to sneeze into the mic there and blow your ears out suddenly. So, all right, let's go. Let's hold that plunger, baby. Let's go get that going. Get that going. Now, when I said, you know, the other ones are, these are my favorites. There's also the Zen pinball games that have all of the Star Wars levels on them, South Park, Bob's Burgers, a whole variety of different ones. And those tables are absolutely crazy. I mean, literally, they are video games that just happen to take place on a pinball playfield. But what I do like is that playing them on the Oculus Quest makes it feel like you're actually standing in front of a real pinball cabinet. And I've even seen some people make VR pinball controllers where they built a deck and then they put the controllers on, or the flipper buttons on the side. So when they're standing there playing, they're actually hitting physical buttons on the side of what feels like a real pinball cabinet, just really adding to the illusion there. Really cool. All right, let's go. Let's see. All right, you got that there. Yeah, you can see all this stuff ripping around. Now, if I pause this here, you can see we've got all of this, all these different features, right, that you can play around with, and you can really kind of tailor this to your, to your needs. We're going to go ahead and let's go bring that zoom in a little bit and see what happens there. Okay. Now, this should, I think, keep the play field out, most of the time. Yeah, so I went the opposite direction of what I wanted. I wanted this to be really, really tight. So let's go ahead and do that. And you can see your comfort options. Camera, auto center, screen flashes, screen shake, visibility, trails. Here are your game stats, right? Time to play, different points, different tiers you hit, total time you play. So you can really get into the nitty gritty of these games and then, get better over time and do all those things. What does the ball attendant do? Let's see. No. We don't. Oh, you know what? All right. Well, let's see what I'm saying. All right. So see how we're zoomed really in now, so we can see all the action. But you won't be able to see as much of the board right at once. But see, I like this better, right? I would opt for the tighter view here, and just have the screen scroll around, because it's not snapping from screen to screen. So you can still follow it as it's scrolling, but like I like to see what I'm shooting at here and hitting. Yeah, there's just so much going on the board. So again, like I said, it's a spiritual successor, or it drove inspiration from games like Alien Crush. Now, there was another version of Alien Crush that came out on the Nintendo Wii, and it was a complete 3D remake of the original game and the original boards, and it used polygons and stuff like that. It wasn't a it wasn't a 2D game. It was playing on a 2D plane, but all of the assets were 3D objects. Excuse me, one moment. Pitch right out of here. All right, there we go. All right, so that one is obviously an homage or the evolution of Alien Crush. Let's go ahead and check the next one. That's Demon's Tilt. Really, really cool. Let's see if I hit the left trigger. There you go. There's your patch notes. It works on the Steam Deck, which is great. But again, you got to keep it zoomed in, especially when you're playing on a smaller screen like that. All right. So that one is Demon's Tilt. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the next one, which is Xenotilt. And this is the one that I just picked up on the Steam sale. And yeah, now it is this one is the Alien Crush version. I meant to say this one's the Alien Crush version. The other one is the Demons Crush version, right? So Xeno, as in xenomorphs, versus the aliens, right, on the other one. So, all right, Xenotilt. Let's go ahead and play this one. Yeah, that's what I meant. I apologize. I realized that I'm all over the place on today's episode. We had 3 shows going on today, so this one is winding it up for for the day before we get out of here. But you know what's going to, it's even games like this that are leaning into using cloud services to go ahead and maintain either multiplayer or to keep track of leaderboards and to do authentication and stuff like that. So even in games like Pinball, right, they are still being built to leverage cloud-based services, which is really, really cool. All right, here we go. Oh, look at the graphics on that. Just awesome, right? The images on it, oh, so good. All right, Xenotilt is kicking up there. And yeah, Demon's Tilt, right, of course, was the follow-on to, the original Demon's Crush, or Devil's Crush, rather, I should say. All right, turret system and perk system. There we go. Okay, I don't know what all of that is. Let's go ahead and make sure that we are also moving that in. So we're going to make standard zoom all the way in. We are going to, let's do the turret auto fire. Let's just make sure that's on there. We're not dimming that playfield, and we're not doing softer sprite flashes. We are going all the way in on this. So here we go. Oh, look at that. The animation's so good. Just love the themes of all these. And there's just so much going on. I mean, that is the one of the other things too. And I have colleagues over here at AWS that play pinball competitively, and there's all kinds of groups here that do that. And to watch pinball players play, it's different than watching video gamers play, because they are manipulating a physical machine to do crazy, crazy things, like to keep the ball in play, to understand the physics and the angles and momentum. It's really something to behold. Plus, you got to keep a bunch of different systems in your head all at the same time. And I got to tell you, as somebody who, is ADD, keeping track of all those systems, no, not really good. Not really that good for somebody like myself. Right? I tend to lose track of what I'm supposed to be doing. So for me, it's more about, let's see how many colors we can get flopping around. Let's see how many, targets we can light up, all of those sorts of things. All right, let's see. And plus, I want to look at like all the background graphics and everything else. Maybe what we're going to do too is on another episode, I'll actually go in and do the VR pinball games. So go ahead and get my headset in here, and we'll go ahead and play through some of that stuff. And if there's any online components, maybe we even open up for online. And I've got a couple of episodes that I'm planning right now that are going to be a bit more elaborate. And one of them is going to be on location, actually from my home, where I'm going to be uncovering or showing the materials that were used to create the Art of Video Games exhibition at the Smithsonian, and the collection that I now have at home. And so that should be a really fun episode. But I'm also thinking about doing one that would be a 24-hour marathon, and to play the new Nintendo World Championship game with anybody that wanted to go ahead and play. So maybe we'll go ahead and do, like I said, a 24-hour playthrough or session, and I'll just live here at the office for a full-on day, and we'll take challengers that want to come and play, and we'll just spend the day playing through awesome games, awesome mini games on the Nintendo World Championship game that just got released. I'm actually going to pick up the NES version of the game, which comes with all these little really cool bits and baubles in the box, including like a game cartridge, and that's not real. You know, it's basically the gold Nintendo World Championship cartridges, or a remake of that same shelf from back in the day when there was the original World Championship was taking place. Oh yeah, look at that. Man, getting blocked by, oh, look at that. Robot cat. Okay. No, bad kitty. Man, look at this. It moves so fast. So cool, though. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And maybe I've got to figure out some stuff to do with that, you know. But that should be a lot of fun. So we have a lot of fun episodes coming up here for the rest of the year, too. And we're also going to be leaning into other games that run on AWS, and maybe even get to play against some of the developers on their own games. So a lot more to come here in 2024. We're only halfway through this year. We got a lot more games to play. Oh, there we go. There was that one. Shoot. All right, you know, so now that we went ahead and actually played this, I'm going to go back one more time. I'm going to go fire up Demon's Tilt, and we're going to go play that just one more time before we get out of here, because this one, like I said, is that spiritual successor to the one that I love most, right? Which is Devil's Crush. Now, Devil's Crush was also brought here to the United States. I'm now online. I could connect with friends and open up a social panel and see who's there. Oh, what the heck was I going to say? Anyway, yeah, I lost my train of thought. Man, it is the end of the week. Man, this episode has just been a little crazy. You know, we were kind of tempting the the internet fates, right, to be able to even get this out today. And so we are. And at least we have some fun playing through this stuff. And you know, oh, I know what I was going to say. So you had Demons, I think it was called Demon's Clash, that came over here to the US, and the game Devil's Crush was ported over to the Sega Genesis. But then they came out with a follow-on to that. In fact, we'll go ahead. It's going to drive me nuts. It's like kind of watching a movie and you have to have IMDb up in front of you. Let's make sure that we have that Dragon's Revenge. That was the follow-on. So there was another game, Dragon's Revenge, that also came here to the US, and it's a follow-up to Devil's Crush, and it was made by Tengen. And there's a whole history about Tengen, and which was Atari, you know, at the time. And it got good reviews, but I did not like it nearly as much as Devil's Crush. There's just something about it that just wasn't as polished or as fast, right? And so it's a fun game to play, to be sure. It's a good game, but certainly not on the same level as Devil's Crush. But I digress. Let's go ahead and jump in one more time. Play a little more of Demon's Tilt, and then we're going to get out of here and enjoy the rest of the weekend. And I'm going to go and play a whole lot more pinball this weekend. So there we go. All right, here we go. Yeah, everything for the voice clips and everything else. Oh, it's so good, so good. And actually, so you can use either the triggers or the bumpers on an Xbox controller to play. If you use the triggers, of course, you have a little bit of latency because you got to pull the trigger down. And it is a digital press, not an analog one, so I don't know why I was using those. Using the shoulders just gives you, the fastest reaction time. Once again, landing the ball like inside of her crown, just like in Devil's Crush, is how you evolve her. I do love like the spikes that popped up there, and instead of like the druids, they've got, what are these things? Oh, I guess they are. They're like little soldiers that are running around her, but there's a lot of them. Definitely a lot of them there. Yeah, but again, it's if you don't have a pinball machine, or if you never even really grew up playing pinball, you should definitely give these pinball games a try. And there's so many other really good ones. There were games like the House of the Dead pinball games on the Game Boy Advance. There is Pokemon Pinball on the original Game Boy Color, and that even had rumble to it. So you put a AA battery in there, and you then added rumble to it. There's Pokemon Pinball Red and Blue, I think it is. There's a whole bunch of really awesome pinball games out there. Definitely give them a try. They're a lot harder than you'd think, and they can be a lot of fun, especially when you start racking up combos and you start learning how to chain events, and you learn how to not have it drop straight down, the damn drain right there. Okay, here we go. Yeah, now wonder what happens. What happens if I collapse all the spikes right there in the corner? So you start to learn all the different mechanics, and there's different goals for each one of these games and different boards, and there's all different types of scenarios and a story that plays out, all kinds of crazy stuff. But yeah, video pinball or video game pinball games, so much fun to play. And these are just some of my favorites, and this is one of the new ones that I just picked up. And again, like I said, just a real throwback to one of my favorite games of all time. Not just pinball games, but games of all time, Devil's Crush. Really, really cool. Yeah, I just love it. Just love it. Look at it. So nice. So cool. So that's it. So those are some of the video pinball games that you can go ahead and pick up and play. Lots of fun to go ahead and play. You can jump in on Steam. You can jump in over at the Epic Game Store. You can go check out Amazon Games, right, for your Prime gaming subscription. If you are a subscriber to Amazon Prime, you get free games every month. Make sure you're going over there and checking them out because they're free. And who doesn't love free games? I don't know anybody that doesn't love free games. I sure love them. But that is going to bring us to the end of this little bit glitchy episode of Rewind. And remember, if you are a video game developer of any size, from AAA to indies, make sure you head on over to aws.amazon.com/game tech to discover the products, solutions, and services that we offer to help you on your cloud game development journey. And if you're a beginner looking for a clear starting point to help you build a career or learn to produce games in the AWS cloud, we recommend you start with an AWS learning plan. This set of on-demand courses will increase your knowledge of game servers and game analytics and help grow your technical skills to solve real-world game development, compute, and analytics problems. And you can demonstrate your knowledge to the world by earning digital badges. Head on over to aws.training/GameTech to start on your AWS for Games learning plan today. And of course, I want to give a special shout out and thank you to Waterflame for allowing us to use his music here on Rewind. Make sure you head on over to his YouTube channel at Waterflame Music to check out his incredible work. And finally, of course, if you care about preserving the history of video games as much as I do, make sure you head on over to the Video Game History Foundation's website at gamehistory.org. They are doing incredible work to preserve the history of our industry for future generations. And I want to thank you for spending your Friday afternoon with me. Have a wonderful rest of your day, an awesome weekend. Go play some video game pinball games, and we'll see you next week on Rewind.